Aloha and welcome to E Hanakako. We're a weekly program on the Think Tech Hawaii Broadcast Network. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute. We believe in building a better Hawaii with a better economy, government, and society. But one of the ways that's important to do that, and has been long before the time of Governor Ariyoshi, the coming here of the people of Japan. Japan has played such a significant role in the development and the growth of the Hawaii economy. And today, vice versa, Hawaii, at least in an intellectual sense, plays a role in helping Japan to understand its own economic pathway. I'm very privileged to have a dear friend, Kenneth Schoolland. Ken Schoolland, who will be on our program in the second half, is a free market economist. He's been on our show before, and he hosts economists and others, scholars from Japan. Today we have a two-part program. We call it I guess a double header. And in the first part, we're going to be talking with a couple of economists from Japan about the Japanese economy. And in the second half, we'll be talking with Ken and another Japanese scholar about international education. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you two new friends of mine. One of them happens to be Dr. Hiroshi Yoshida. He's the president of the Institute of Public Sector Accounting, and also Yuta Steve Nakano, who is a PhD scholar at the Happy Science Academy, and I'd like to welcome both of them at this time. Hiroshi, aloha.
Aloha.
Welcome to Hawaii.
Thank you very much.
Aloha, you said that very well. Steve,
Hi,
welcome.
aloha.
And welcome to Hawaii.
Yes,
I'm
thank
glad
you.
you're both on the program today, and I know that my listeners and viewers are very interested in getting caught up with what's happening in the Japanese economy now. We know you've gone through a disastrous period in terms of natural disaster, in terms of technological failure, and you are recovering now. And if you'd like to tell us just a little bit about the condition of the economy.
In this day, the government is becoming very big.
Yes.
Big, and tax hike is higher and higher. It's a problem.
Yes.
People, even if people working hard, they can't make the rich. It's not make rich. We never make a rich, so it's a problem.
How is the economy doing since the tsunami disaster and the failure of the nuclear power plants? Maybe Steve, you want to comment on that?
Gradually bounced back the Japanese economy since 2011.
Yes.
The great disaster in the east region of Japan. And 2 years passed, 2 or 3 years passed, and gradually coming back in Japanese economy. But we have a problem. I always mentioned that consumption tax hike.
Oh, consumption tax hike. Now,
Yeah,
for my viewers, for the most part here in the West, we would call that a general excise tax.
Yes.
And in Hawaii, we know very well what a general excise tax is. And
Yes.
it's a tax that takes place at the point of purchasing items. When the consumer
Exactly.
purchases groceries, or when the consumer purchases items from a store,
Yeah.
a tax is added there. Now, tell me, what is the prevailing consumption tax in Japan now, and where is it going?
Consumption tax was introduced in 1989.
All right.
And the start year is 3%.
3% currently is your
Yes,
consumption
and
tax.
1997, the Prime Minister Yuta Matsumoto is hiring the consumption tax from 3 to 5%. The current
So it's
rate-
gone up to 5% currently, but it's not stopping at 5%.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
what is going to happen
And
with the consumption tax?
In other words, the Japanese economy is sluggish economic growth, and 10 years annual growth rate is 0%.
0%.
0%. And consumption consists of 60% of Japanese GDP. It's a main factor.
So that's a huge amount of money. Now, Japan, of course, going back to Dr. Yoshida, is run by politicians. And you've already expressed some strong views about government. Let me ask you this question. What do the politicians hope to accomplish with a high consumption tax? Are they looking for a lot of short-term funding that will come from their consumers? What is the goal? What do they hope to accomplish with the consumption tax?
They want everything from citizens.
They want to pay for everything.
Everything. And in this day, still people believe government doing good
Okay, yeah, they look to the government to solve the problem.
problem, but we cannot ask government because government is problem.
Now you sound like Ronald Reagan.
Yes, and if we pay, if we can find the right person for right job, such a government, it became more easy. But when starting but value added tax and
Sure.
we say consumption tax, we can't find the right person. If we pay, then I think it is same in Hawaii. Kelly, have you ever say thank you when you pay tax? In Japan, almost people know, damn it. It is a problem.
Yes, now, so
And it's still now, but people, our citizens believe government doing good thing. They believe their promise, but always they break promise, broken promise.
well, I think there are a lot of similarities here, as you mentioned, between Japan and Hawaii, especially with this issue of consumption tax. One of the reasons that in Hawaii we have a fairly high general excise tax, which numerically is only 4.7%, but it actually
how much?
4.7, but it actually has an impact of being much higher, up to 9 to 13%. One of the reasons we have that is that many politicians believe that that's an effective way to generate income. But what we at the Grassroot Institute and our colleague Ken Schoolland point out, it doesn't really generate more money for the government. It's very short term. We take money away from the consumers when they go to the store and they buy, rather than leave it in the economy. If we left that money in the economy, it would be there for years, there would be the multiplier effect, and ultimately the tax system would generate more money. So in Japan, let me first of all ask you this question, maybe Steve can answer this. Have you seen that the consumption tax has actually failed to generate the revenues government needs?
Yeah, exactly. It's a failure. It's a complete failure.
Okay, so it doesn't work from that end. The other problem for us with general excise tax is it oppresses the consumer. And not the wealthy consumer, but the ones who are lower middle class and the poor, because almost everything they buy, they go into a store and pay consumption tax on it, or GE tax. And so we have a term called regressive. I don't know if you use the same term, regressive, that it's a tax that actually ends up hurting the poor much more. And here, one of the problems we have is that the disposable income of the person who is hit by the GE tax or the consumption tax most is low, so that GE tax is a higher percentage of their income. Is that the case in Japan?
Yes, okay, you're right. And the consumption tax is regressive. And any kind of tax is damage the low level or poor. So the consumption is lead to sluggish and weak in the Japanese economy overall.
Yes. So it weakens not only the economy, it weakens the individuals the economy is supposed to serve. Now, this is an amazing discussion we're having here, because you and I have never met before today. I'm so honored that Ken Schoolland has introduced us. But this reminds me of conversations I've had with economists all over the world. And recently I was in Beijing, and we had the same conversation, and in Hong Kong, the same conversation, because it looks like certain economic principles operate in the same way no matter where you are. And I believe your brand of economics is what we call free market economics. Would you like to tell us, Dr. Yoshida, a little bit more about your approach to free market economics and what that really means in Japan?
There is a two way to get another person's property.
Okay.
Okay, and one way is a trade. Give me what I want, and I give you what you want.
Okay, trade between two people.
Two people.
They have a contract between each other.
Yes, and there is two patterns of trade: good trade and bad trade. good trade is all person. In this case, two person, you and I.
Yes.
If it is a good trade, you say thank you, and I say thank you.
That's right.
It makes our wealth.
Well, let's take a break here at the end of the definition of good trade, and we'll come back after a commercial.
Okay.
And talk about bad trade.
Okay.
And we're talking with a free market economist from Japan, Dr. Yoshida, as well as his colleague, Mr. Nakano. What a fascinating conversation this is as we take a look at the role of a free market in Japan's recovery. I'm Keli'i Akina with the Grassroot Institute. You're watching Ehana Kako, which means let's work together on the weekly broadcast program on the Think Tech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We'll be right back after this short message.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Hori for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Hori. Mahalo.
Welcome back to Ehana Kako. We're a weekly program on the Think Tech Hawaii Broadcast Network. I'd like to say thanks to Jay Fidel, who is our producer. He's done a masterful job of bringing together outstanding guests and hosts so that we can inform our audience, which is across the world. And I want to say aloha to all of you who are watching. If you're watching from somewhere halfway across the world from Hawaii, we welcome you to come here, help us build our economy. We'll help you build yours. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute, and my guests today are experts in economics, but they are from Japan, as opposed to being from Hawaii, and yet we're learning that they have tremendous insight into our situation and we to theirs, because there are certain universal economic principles, and we're talking a bit about the role of free market economics. My guests include Professor Hiroshi Yoshida of the Institute for Public Sector Accounting, and we'll get to talk to him about public sector accounting in a few minutes, and also Yuta Steve Nakano, an economist and a PhD student. But let's go back right now to our conversation. Professor Yoshida, you told us there was good trade and bad trade. And good trade is when the parties have an agreement with each other, and basically nobody interferes with that. They can determine what gets exchanged. Now, tell me, what is bad trade?
Bad trade. Good trade. I repeat, good trade. Both of trader say thank you. Bad trade.
Right.
Bad trade is only one side say thank you, maybe, and almost bad trade. Both of traders say, damn it.
So it sounds like taxes and the government.
That's right. The government is plunder. Have you ever say thank you when you pay tax?
I say, thank heaven, I'm done.
Done. So it says trade makes people rich.
Okay, trade enriches people.
So you remember Adam Smith?
Yes, Adam Smith.
Adam Smith. That's a good pronunciation.
Thank you. I know Adam Smith is very revered in Asia. In fact, I think people in Asia, when I go to universities in China and Hong Kong, Singapore, and Korea, I haven't been to Japan yet. I hear more about Adam Smith there than I do in the United States.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
And Adam Smith make clear that property is private property.
Yes, private property.
Separate of labor.
Yes, labor.
Division of labor.
Division of labor.
All right, the division of labor.
Division of labor is a system to make wealth of people. But he forget about trade. Good trade. Only good trade makes
That's right.
good people wealth.
That's why we moved from the wealth of nations, Adam Smith, to the concept of competitive advantage, which is based on trade.
Yeah. So government in this day, almost people that never say thank you when pay tax. It's a problem.
So there's a fundamental issue here, and that is you're saying government interferes with the process of free trade between free people. And the bigger government gets, the more powerful government gets, the less free trade between people. I know that Ken Schoolland, whom we respect greatly here, we revere him,
Yeah,
speaks about the fundamental problem of the violation of that contract.
Yeah.
If I want to contract for something with you,
Yeah.
and you with me, and we are in agreement, that should settle it, unless we're killing other people or harming them. And so, in what way is this interfering with Japan's recovery? In what way does this role of government interfere with the recovery financially in Japan?
In this day, they printing money, it's difficult. Money is the most important function. They receive money with thank you.
Yes.
But if government printing money, here, I pay for you. You say thank you, just printing. Money has a value. People who receive it is respect his work. But in this day, government's work is a group of it's just a pyramid of 塊ね。なんだっけ集合だから集合はなんていう？Just a pyramid. So we find the right person to ask our tax to. That's the accounting function. Do you know accounting function?
Well, now that's a good question. In fact, I know that your role as the Institute of Public Sector Accounting President helps to define what public accounting is. And would you tell our viewers a little bit about what that is and what role it plays?
We pay, accordingly, under the democratic society, we pay tax with our consent. You say something like this. No representation. No taxation without representation. That's it.
That was one of the complaints, one of the battle cries of our founding fathers, that Great Britain, under King George III, had imposed taxation without representation.
Yeah, and we voting, actually, our generation. But our children, have we ever voted? In Japan, under 20 years, they have no voting right.
Okay.
But in this day, government spend more money than the tax revenue. They're borrowing from children.
Okay, so what you're saying is that when the government has ineffective fiscal policies and incurs debt and doesn't pay for what it actually spends on, we are taxing our children.
That's right.
And when you tax the children, you are exercising taxation without representation. So it's a violation of a fundamental human right value.
It's against human rights.
Yes.
So my symbol mark is no deficit.
Let's show that to the camera right over there. Take a look at that. Or this one right here in the middle here. You see that? I like that little logo, if we can zoom in on that there. Would you say that for us, Dr. Yoshida?
No, never shift our deficit onto our children.
All right, never shift our deficit onto our children. Well, again, we have something in common with Japan. Here in Hawaii, we happen to have pensions for our public workers, and we have health insurance for our public workers. And right now, just in our state alone, we are $42 billion in debt. We call it unfunded liabilities, but it's our children who may have to pay for it unless we learn how to sacrifice. Steve, you're studying economics now. Why is it you've chosen this brand of free market economics there in Japan? It's not the norm. Most people studying economics are learning how to keep the existing system going of basic fiscal policy that is controlled by the politicians.
Policy, yes. Basically, my philosophy is freedom, and I love free to choose Milton Friedman and
Milton Friedman.
Yes, and also I love Friedrich Hayek.
Friedrich Hayek.
Seldom. Yes, and Yes, simply I said I hate the government because government always failed and the government intervened the market economy and private property and damaged the market economies. So because I want to proceed free market philosophy first in the graduate level, elementary level, and children, and so next is high school students and university students, and after the graduate students. And so sadly, most of Japanese believe, Dr. Hiroshi Yoshida says, believes the government is good, government is efficient,
Sure.
and the market economy, but it's failure.
Well, part of the Japanese culture has been to believe that the emperor would take care
Yeah.
of the people, and that translated to the government taking care of the people. But as I listen to you, it's become evident to people that the government has failed in its mission. Why do Japanese still trust the government to take care?
Maybe most of Japanese believe the Japanese government officer is brilliant.
Okay.
And the whites and the older people.
So he is the son of heaven.
Yeah.
The very same kind of mindset
Yes.
before. Dr. Yoshida, you wanted to chime in and say something
I'd
here.
like to say people's eye damaged. People cannot find the right person. We voting, but can I give some performance by voting? Finance control, good management? No, because we are not. We have not such performance. So we find the right person. And how can I find the right person? We check their work done. Did he do good thing or not? It's an accounting system.
Sure, and you can tell from that. Well, this is interesting. You've made reference several times to the absence of the right person, the absence of the good person. And you've also mentioned that people are looking for the right person and the good person. And yet what you're saying really, it's not about the person. It's about honoring the contracts between people, allowing freedom and that value. This is a very interesting thing. A lot of people don't realize that some of these values you're talking about come from sources other than Milton Friedman and Friedrich Hayek. They actually come from Confucius.
Yes, okay, you're right. And you can find the right person in the government. And also, on the other hand, you can find the right person in market.
In the market.
In the markets. Because entrepreneurs and the company, the learner have knowledge and the technologies and to improve the
Certainly.
well-being. But the government also has not enough knowledge. Yes.
Now, do you think that in light of the need to recover from the recent economic crisis, that Japan will be more open to a freer market and less central control? What do you think, Steve?
In short time, Keynesian approach is right, but effect is short. And financial policy and fiscal policy is right. But in the mid and long term, this Keynesian approach is not effect. I believe so. And okay.
No, continue. Yes.
Okay. And in mid and long term, I believe the market economies can make better people's well-being, and because they have in the market there are many right person and many knowledge and the technologies, and everybody exchange each other and so on.
Dr. Yoshida, just a related question, and very quickly if you'd respond. Across the straits in China, what does the relationship with Chinese economy portend or have to say for the future of Japan's economy? How do the Japanese look at that?
Personally, there is always a problem in government. But if free from government, but government will be better. In all case, in this day, all case is to find, to make free from bad government.
Bad government.
But and I added a word, two words. Almost government is bad government.
Well, you know, China is struggling with the same issue from the point of view of how do you transition from a highly centrally controlled economy into one which allows greater freedoms and yet maintain your cohesion as a nation. And I'm sure that's a very big challenge. I just want to say thank you to both of you for the time you've spent today on your travels. I hope you're enjoying Hawaii. And where do you go from here, Dr. Yoshida, after Hawaii?
Kent's class.
Where to?
Kent's Schoolland class.
Oh, okay. To Kent Schoolland's class. And then where do you go after this state when you leave Hawaii?
Going back?
Going back to Japan. And you too, Steve?
Yeah.
Well, very, very good. Dr. Yoshida,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us today. And
Thank you
Mr.
so
Nakano,
much.
thank you for
Yes,
being
sir.
with us. I'm just going to wrap up to our viewers. This has just been a delightful chat. Just friends, fellow liberty lovers who are free market economists. It's always delightful to see how some principles adhere regardless of the culture. And what was interesting is not only seeing how some of our problems are similar between Japan and Hawaii, like high levels of taxation, general excise, or what they call the consumption tax, but to see what principles prevail in terms of the role of government, playing a command role, or allowing freedom between consumers and businesses. And so we'll take note that this conversation is a global conversation. Again, thanks to my friend Ken Schoolland for arranging today's conversation. We're going to be back with Ken and another Japanese scholar to talk about international education in just a minute. So for this doubleheader, don't go away. This is Keli'i Akina with the Grassroot Institute on Think Tech Hawaii's Ehana Kako. Let's work together. Be right back after this.
Castle and Cook, Hawaii. Investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics, empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company, and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech. Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech. We have some news for you. In addition to our ThinkTech TV show and our Asia in Review show on Olelo 54, as of January 1st, we're adding Community Matters to play also 2 hours a week. Check out thinktechhawaii.com for the specific times of each of these shows. We hope you enjoy all three. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidel.
I welcome you back to our doubleheader today on Ehana Kako, which means let's work together. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute, and we've just had a rousing conversation with a couple of free market economists from the nation of Japan. Now we have the opportunity to take a look at international education with my good friend Ken Schoolland, a professor at the Hawaii Pacific University and a scholar at the Grassroot Institute, as well as his friend and now mine, Sean Matsumoto, who happens to be with the Happy Science Academy. I'm not sure what it says in Japanese, but in English that makes me happy to think of the Happy Science Academy. And without further ado, let's begin our conversation. Sean, welcome to Hawaii.
Thank you very much.
And Ken, always glad to have you on the program. Well, you know, Sean,
Yes.
tell us, what is really the basic belief of the Happy Science Academy?
Right. Well, actually, Happy Science Academy is established by an organization called Happy Science.
There you go. That would make sense.
Happy Science is a very ecumenical religious organization,
All right.
which is trying to, open to every religious belief.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, in our program here, we're generally dealing with topics of government and
Yes.
economics, and
Yes.
rarely do we do religion. But
Yes.
in your case,
Yes.
there's something that we're very interested in.
Yes.
Somehow you are bringing religion together with the idea of free markets.
Actually, yes, because we are based on religion, but we also desperately seeking for liberty.
Liberty.
So
All right.
Now we are trying to establish a new university in Japan, and we are hoping that this university will be the center of the liberty in Japan.
Now that's interesting in the context of the conversation we
Yes.
just had with the economists from
Yes.
Japan,
Yes.
because their basic critique
Yeah.
is the problem with government and the economy is government takes away liberty from the consumers, from the taxpayers,
Right.
from the people who want to have contracts with each other. And so you're going to try to produce more liberty in Japan.
No, because the thing is, as you might know, Japanese education
Yes.
predominantly left wing.
All right.
Yes,
yes.
and all the
And by left wing in particular, you mean
Marxist.
Marxist. I was just saying that for the producer of
Yeah.
Think Tech Hawaii, in case you
Well,
didn't know what left
most
wing meant.
economists are Marxist, and education based on left-wing ideas. So that is why all the children are brought up and educated in left-wing ideologies.
But in Japan, we call that democracy.
Yeah.
Hey, how about that?
we call it democracy and a free country.
Yes.
But in other way of looking at it, Japan is the most successful socialist country.
Now, I knew you would invoke that word socialist sooner or later.
Yeah.
And in particular, again, in context of today's economic discussion,
Yes.
we're talking about government playing a commanding, leading role
Right.
in the markets,
Exactly.
as opposed to letting the contract players in the market determine the basic game. Let me switch to Ken here. Ken, just delighted that you've brought these colleagues to us, and I can see how much affinity there is between you and them, and you must probably enjoy having coffee and sake, or tea and sake in Japan. What is it that we have in common with these free market thinkers from Japan?
I'm so fascinated with the way Sean has introduced this point about how education is dominated by really an autocratic system. People aren't choosing through a competitive market of where they want to go to school and where they want to pay. They're compelled to pay for a government system of autocratic control, and where students for 12 years of their lives are spent totally outside what we consider democratic principles into a totally autocratic, obey the rulers, the authority, and your families have to pay for it. You have to go to this school, and if you don't follow the precepts that are set out by the government, especially in Japan, where the Mombusho dictates what is taught and how it's taught and for whom it's taught, all of these things are not any kind of prescription for a democratic society of independent thinking and freedom of thought.
Now, some people would say that's good it's not. Because this has been the industrial strength of Japan. This type of organization for society and for education with central control, where everybody knows his or her place, helps produce the kind of society that can industrialize, helps to produce the kind of society that can compete and be lined up to go the same direction. Is the data there? Does it show that that this education has produced a better economy, a better society, Sean?
Well, you know, as you pointed out, Japanese economy before had been doing pretty good, but under the leadership of government. But as you know, in the early 90s, they came to the limitation of the government-led economy. Now, since then, for 20 years, Japan has been seeking for alternative ideas, but which they haven't found yet. But now, as you know, Prime Minister Abe introduced the Abenomics, and now huge monetary easing. But what's happening is because of education that limited the idea of entrepreneurship. Now, there are lots of money on the market, but people don't know how to use it. See? So we want more successful people, of course, better society. But they don't know how to do it.
Well, this is an interesting thing that also has to do with technology.
Yes.
Technology, as it becomes successful,
Yes.
tends to replace human labor unless human labor can become entrepreneurial, can become creative, and so forth. And so, do we see this happening in Japan? Japan's a land which has had tremendous advances in terms of replacing human labor with robots, with technology, and so forth. I don't even need a translator anymore. I just use a computer. But have we learned to be the kind of people who can take this to the next level?
It may look like it, but if you live in Japan, you will notice there are so many regulations, so many restrictions. See, so government restricts all the innovative ideas, innovative technologies.
How about that? Ken,
Yes.
as you're listening to Sean here, I hear you, I just can read your mind, home sweet home. Everything he's saying, central control, regulations, one school system. It sounds like the things you've been saying about Hawaii for a long time, or a land where Jonathan Gullible finds himself strangely present.
Well, look at what happened. At the end of World War II, the great booming success of the economy where Japan turned from absolute rubble at the end of the World War II to the economic miracle of the world, along with Germany. Both of those countries did it by tremendously freeing the market. They reduced their tax rates to the lowest levels in the industrial world, and they had the fastest growth rates in the industrial world. What reversed it, what crippled that booming economy, was the ever-growing presence of government intrusion and the Keynesian policies of favoring certain special interest groups over the general competitive market. And it's crippling the United States in the same way. We're pleased if we have 2% annual growth rate. In Japan, for 20 years, had 1% annual growth rate in 5 recessions. This is the prescription for disaster, and if we really, really want to improve the opportunities for education as well as the whole of the economy, it's to get the government out of the way.
And so let's go back to education per se. How do you in Japan, especially with this new university that is being developed, how do you change the mindset of students from one in which they're taken care of by the government to one in which they are truly entrepreneurial and exercise their freedoms?
There are two characteristics in Japanese education. One is, of course, the very regulative and restricting. Also, another thing is this is also about Japanese cultural environment. It's very egalitarian. So that means, in a way, if you understand, people envy you, they pull your leg. That's a very characteristic of Japan. But in order to be very successful, you have to be courageous and to be outstanding. Also, you have to have a spirit of self-help, right?
That's right. So how do you change this where a common saying is the nail that stands up is the one that gets hammered down?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That is why we are actually trying to establish new education system in university, which enhance people's mindset of self-help, but also mindset that rise beyond the egalitarian envy system.
Yes.
Yeah. I think probably what lacks in Japan is spirit of blessing other people's success. So we trying to enhance that the kind of environment that students learn that spirit as well as they have strong aspiration to be successful in order to serve the society better.
Well, very good. So what I'm hearing you say is that along with a robust entrepreneurship and self-determinism, there needs to be a spirit of really wishing others well, of not pulling them down.
Exactly.
And that's an interesting thing because that would almost be an ethical principle. And so I would imagine your university with its religious origins sees some relationship between economic principle and ethics. Is that so?
Exactly, yes. Because
Now, is Ken in agreement with this?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if
Yeah.
Ken has any
Well,
more
there's
ethics
this,
than Ayn Rand.
this,
But- just kidding.
great chapter in The Adventures of Jonathan
Uh-huh.
Noble, now, which I'll say is now in 48 languages.
Congratulations
Thank you
to
very
you.
much. Yeah, and there's a
Is it
chapter
is it
there.
in English yet?
Yeah, but not in the Hawaii public schools. The chapter in there is about education is, well, what if we gave grades to students on the basis that the society says from each according to ability, to each according to their need? So the good student doesn't deserve a good grade, should have the worst grade, and the worst student should have the best grade, you know, where you reverse the incentives. Well, it would be a disaster in the schoolroom, in the classroom. No student would want to excel and perform well.
You mean taking from the smart and giving to the dumb?
Yeah.
Kind of like taking from the rich and giving to the poor?
yeah.
Although I'm not lining them up, but I see your
Well,
point.
the productive versus the unproductive.
Yes.
Now, this is not to say that all people who are rich have justly acquired property. That often happens through government favor, that you have extremes of wealth that are due to government favor, but not necessarily because of your own productive activity and genius. You know?
So we have to have an ethical base if we're going to have a robust free market economy, which really is an answer to one of the criticisms of pure free market. Oftentimes people say that's dog eat dog, that won't work because it's just the Wild West. But what are some of these ethical principles that your university stands for?
Well, probably when you say ethical, it can be many things, right?
Yes.
But a mindset of blessing other people's success, and also ethical maybe principle to say be egalitarian, you know, environment. It's very different, isn't it? You
Yes.
know? So enhancing.
And when you say egalitarian, what you mean is dumbing everyone down to
Exactly,
the lowest
because,
common denominator.
Everybody is
lowest
not
schedule.
successful, so I don't want to be successful.
Okay,
So that's also
all right.
ethic, you know.
All right.
So enhancing people's aspiration, you might call it ethical, but I think it's very liberal and a natural idea, I think.
Oh, it is. It's
Yes.
a very natural
I
idea.
might say that
yes.
this idea that the dog-eat-dog world is bad for the poor, you consider that where are the poor the most prosperous and have the greatest opportunities? It's in the economies that are growing the most. And where are those? Those are the ones that are the most free to produce wealth and to reward the producers.
That's right.
They are the ones where the people have the greatest opportunities for advancement and prosperity. I mean, people today, the poorest of people in America are more prosperous than people 50 or 100 years ago who were the upper middle class in America, because
That's
there's
right.
so much wealth being generated.
Sean, as we wind up now, let me ask you this question. If I'm a parent and I can send my child to any university,
Yes.
why would we want to send our children to Happy Science?
Because they will learn what liberty is,
All right.
and they want to be, they're gonna learn how to be aspired to be a better person and more successful person. Because let me bring up something, if the time is okay. As you know, the previous government, that is DP, Democratic Party in Japan, introduced the a free education for high school students. It sounds good, isn't it? I mean, for the poor people, education free, yes. But what I believe is that we need to help those who want to help themselves, right? Right.
Yes.
So, as a result of that reform, most young people grew to be very passive
Yes.
and dependent on helps, especially government. So that is why they don't want to do anything special. They don't want to do anything new. They don't want anything
Sure.
innovative. That is why in this environment, in our university, students are very different.
Well, it sounds like you're at the cusp of a cultural shift, one that actually challenges centuries and millennia in Asia of the idea that I am born into a role and I play my role in the family and in the neighborhood and the country, and yet you're talking about liberty. Are you accused ever of being too Western?
Well, there's nothing to be accused of. Well, of course, there's a Western influence in Japan, so Japanese society turning towards more individualistic. But on the other hand, there are strong affinity, affection within the family still.
Very
So,
good.
I might add that Karl Marx was a Western.
There you go. Well, it's been delightful talking with you today.
Yes.
And we're with Sean Matsumoto, who is the Director of International Studies for Happy Science, which is a brand new university in Japan, and Ken Schoolland, who is a delightful economist of the free market kind. And we're just so happy to have you on board today. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little sojourn with some friends from Japan today. It's always interesting to compare our way of looking at economic and educational issues with the way they're looked at across the ocean. I'm Keli'i Akina with the Grassroot Institute. We stand for individual liberty, free markets, and limited accountable government. And I want to say thanks to Jay Fidel and the entire team at ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. Until next time on Ehanakako, aloha.